Yes, Ham was black. Yeah, he was black. He was black. But guess what? Everybody was black. Yeah, he was black. He was black. But guess what? Everybody was black. Japheth was black. Shem was black because Noah was black. Sorry, white people, we get this one. Japheth was black. Shem was black because Noah was black. Sorry, white people, we get this one. Can we have this one? Can we have this one? Egyptians were the lineage of Ham through the son Mizraim. They were predominantly dark-skinned people that enslaved God's people, who were also predominantly what? Dark-skinned. They were all from the same region. They were predominantly dark-skinned people that enslaved God's people, who were also predominantly what? Dark-skinned. They were all from the same region. They spent most of their time in the sun because it was their primary god, Ra. So they were very dark people. Amen. I got some old Red and Rudy. I love this one. They try to say that Esau was the creator of white people. First of all, he had a twin brother. So how did she have a white and a black child? And why hadn't it happened before? If it can happen, it didn't happen. The Bible says in Genesis 25 and 25, and the first came out red, which is the Hebrew word admoni, all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name what? He came out red like G. Craige. I'm Rudy. That's the word. Red and Rudy is the same Hebrew word admoni. Guess where else it's used? 1 Samuel 16 and 12. And he sent and brought him in, which was King David. Now he was a Rudy admoni. The same Hebrew word. And withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look at. They probably look like this. But you can tell by the lips that they ain't white. They probably look like this. But you can tell by the lips that they ain't white. Yeah, that's Rudy. That's Rudy. That's what I look like. That's Rudy. Red. Rudy. Japheth was black. Shem was black because Noah was black. Sorry, white people, we get this one. Can we have this one? Can we have this one? I can just encourage myself because I'm Rudy just like David. I can just encourage myself because I'm ruddy just like David. I can just encourage myself because I'm ruddy just like David. Yes, Ham was black. Yeah, he was black. He was black. But guess what? Everybody was black. Egyptians were the lineage of Ham through the son Mizraim. They were predominantly dark-skinned people that enslaved God's people, who were also predominantly what? Dark-skinned. They were all from the same region. Egyptians were the lineage of Ham through the son Mizraim. They were predominantly dark-skinned people that enslaved God's people, who were also predominantly what? Dark-skinned. They were all from the same region.
We're going to talk about ruddy skin tones. Now, ruddy skin is mentioned in the Bible several times. And we're going to do an objective study, a real study, not none of this, well, ruddy is this based on a definition. No, we're going to chase this down and really come to a legit answer. So ruddy versus red, or red versus ruddy. Now, the first time the word red is mentioned in the Bible in connection with a person is Esau. So in Genesis 25, verses 20 through 23, I'll read those. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian. Remember, Syrians come from the Assyrians, and they were what? Negroid people. So Isaac took a wife with Negroid features. Bethuel the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. Now, Laban's important because Rachel and Leah are the daughters of Laban, and who's going to marry them? Jacob. And if they have Negroid features and Jacob is Israel, and he starts his line off with Rachel and Leah, it means that his sons with Rachel and Leah are going to have Negroid features as well. So, and Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. So now Isaac is praying for this woman with Negroid features to have a child. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. So the Lord allowed Isaac to have a child with this woman that has Negroid features. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. So now remember, the Jews or the Israelites really have Negroid features, and the Assyrians have Negroid features. So when you have two people with Negroid features coming together, they're still all Shemites. When you have two people with Negroid features coming together, what are you going to get? You're going to get a child with Negroid features, or children with Negroid features. This is important in this study because this study is more logic because of some of the false information out there. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and one shall be the stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Now, let me keep going. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that, his brother came out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. All right, so they make a big deal about Esau being red and hairy like a garment. Esau was red and hairy like a garment. Now, this is interesting because you have 2 people with Negroid features. They come together. They have 2 children. One stood out. One is red and hairy. The other is not. The other's smooth, and we'll see this. So we'll come back to that in a second. In 1 Samuel, ruddy. The first time ruddy is used in the Bible is to describe David. And this is where Samuel is going to find the king of Israel, and David is about to be appointed. Again, Jesse made, this is 1 Samuel 16:10. Again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel, and Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord hath not chosen these. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are all thy children? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance, and a goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. All right, so David is ruddy, and he's good to look upon. David is ruddy. Esau is red. So you will find teachers that will say, well, Esau is red and David is ruddy, and that's two different things. And they try to break it down and say red and ruddy are two different colors. Red refers to blushing. Red, Esau being red is going to refer to him blushing, and him having white skin and blushing white skin. And on the flip side, which is interesting, in Eurocentric Christianity, they will say that ruddy is blushing and it means he has white skin. So these definitions don't seem to fit. Neither of them. Because as we will see in Genesis 25:25, we see that Esau came out Admoni, ruddy. This is Strong's 132. Now in 1 Samuel 16, we see that David gets brought, and David is Admoni, ruddy, 132. They are the same word, ruddy and ruddy. The same exact word used in Genesis 25:25 and 1 Samuel 16:12. So don't let these people who tell you red and ruddy mean something different. Don't let them get away with that lie. That's false. They are not two different words. They are translated differently, but it's the same exact word, Admoni, in Hebrew. So let's keep moving. So Esau. Now you've probably seen this picture before. People try to say this is Esau. So now if this is Esau, this is also David. Because as we've seen, they use the same exact word. So whatever definition you're going to give to Esau, if you're going to say Esau is the white man, you have to say David was a white man. You following the logic here? Because we know for a fact now that these are the same words in Hebrew. We can't now use the facade of, well, this is red and this is ruddy. No, they're both Admoni. So if you're going to say this is Esau, this is also David. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. This guy's not red all over. He's not hairy. And they called his name Esau. So now that we understand that ruddy and red are both Admoni in Hebrew, the same exact word. So we're going to apply it equally across the board. Same exact definition. Let's talk about it. Lamentations 4:6-8. Actually, we'll read the whole thing, 4:6-9. And this is a description, an interesting description that we get about their physical appearance. For the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom, that was overthrown as in a moment, and no hand stayed on her. Her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. I'm going to stop right there. Now, Nazarites were a separate class that were supposed to be consecrated or set apart and supposed to be pure and holy. When it says they are whiter than milk, it's referring to their spiritual self, not their physical self. I don't want to get off into that story because I'll get sidetracked. So anyway, the Nazarites were supposed to be set aside and they were supposed to be pure, which is why scripture then is very specific. It says they were more ruddy in body than rubies. More ruddy in body than rubies. So now they shifted from them being purer than snow, whiter than milk spiritually, to red or ruddy in body. Their polishing was of sapphire. Their visage is blacker than coal, and they are not known in the streets. Their visage or their appearance is blacker than coal. Now understand the switch. Were is past tense. This is where me being a writer comes into play, why I look at words so carefully. Her Nazarites were purer. That's past tense. Were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was past tense of sapphire. And then it switches tense. Their visage is blacker than coal. That's present tense. They are not known in the streets. That's present tense. Their skin cleaveth to their bone. Present tense. Present tense. It is withered. It is become like a stick. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through want of the fruits of the land. So it switches from past tense to present tense. So their body has gone from a shift in color from more ruddy than rubies to blacker than coal. Now here, this picture is of unpolished natural rubies. So now, if they're more ruddy in body than rubies, they don't look like this. This is not Esau, because ruddy and red are both Admoni. So Esau was very likely a redder shade of this. It says these people were more ruddy than rubies, or more Admoni than rubies. So we have something to compare it to. A simile. Comparing it for effect. So in Lamentations, we broke that down. Again, they were more ruddy. This is 119. This is going to be a different word because it's more ruddy or ruddier. So we're not going to get sidetracked into that whole study because that'll come back. You guys go check that out yourself. Verify for yourself. Lamentations 4:7. I told you I use BibleHub.com. Type in Lamentations 4:7. Click interlinear. And that way you can go read all this stuff for yourself. Now, what makes sense to you logically? That they went from this to this. They say they were more ruddy in body, and now their visage is blacker than coal. Did they go from this to this? We know that white people sunburn when they're in the sun. We know that they don't turn black. Or does it make sense that they went from this to this? This is more likely to occur from here to here. The reason being, as we pointed out with the Song of Solomon, she said, I am black because the sun has looked down upon me. We talked about the fact that our people get darker when we're out in the sun. Europeans get redder. They get sunburned. They wouldn't go from ruddy in body like this to black as coal visage or appearance. It's just not a logical conclusion. So it's very likely that Esau was not the white man when he was born. I'm going to tell you 100%. Esau was not born the white man. He was not born a European, period. And we'll see this later because as we discussed with Ishmael, Ishmael was the son of an Egyptian woman who got pregnant by Abraham, who was a Shemite who had Negroid features according to archaeology and everything else. And Esau actually marries the daughter of Ishmael. So if Ishmael is black, his children are black, and Esau is born to a black man with a Assyrian wife who is also black and has Negroid features, and then Esau has a kid with a black woman, they are not going to come out Caucasian. It doesn't make any sense. So as much as some of you would like to believe that Esau is all white men, I don't believe that to be so. I believe, again, the Europeans are the Gentiles. We're going to do a study on Esau. I do believe that Esau is present in some of what we believe to be Europeans, like some of the darker ones, like those over in Israel, some of the ones that can pass the DNA test. They have a little bit of the DNA. Why? Because Jacob and Esau are brothers. And we know that Esau mixed in with the Romans. Esau mixed in with the European nations in little bits. I'm trying to think of his name, Zepho. We know that Esau mixed in. So we'll come back to that in the Esau study so we don't get sidetracked. But more ruddy than rubies. These are unpolished rubies, meaning their body was a similar color to this and they became black as coal. So we have references to a skin color change. We have a actual physical object to compare ruddy to. But let's keep going. So when the doctrine is consistent, you know what ruddy means. Now you understand why David is depicted as this right here. You understand why when David is described as ruddy, people would paint him like this. I think it was the 11th century. So again, consistency in truth. If you believe that ruddy looks like this, then you would be surprised to see King David look like this and all the people around him look like this. And these are Israelites. These are Israelites around him. They're all brown skinned people. They are not white people. You see, they have what? Bushy hair. Bushy hair. Bushy hair. So let's talk about the red heifer. Those of you who are intelligent thinking people, regardless of religion, mostly all agree that the red heifer looks like this. And again, we talked about the words red and ruddy mean the same exact thing. So if red and ruddy are the same exact word, Admonai, this is what the red heifer looks like, which means this is what Esau looked like. The words are there. He came out red, hairy all over. I'm not saying he looked like a cow, but you get what I'm saying. Esau was red and hairy. We do not think this cow is a white blushing cow. We know that they were not commanded to sacrifice a white blushing cow. So again, consistency. We'll start to see it becomes consistent when you use the word consistent. And in science, we see it here too, used in science and because of nature. This is an animal called the ruddy shell duck. Look at the color. This is a ruddy tree frog. Look at the color. So when people come telling you ruddy is white and Esau was born white because he was ruddy and David is white because he's ruddy and he was blushing, this is what a lot of the white supremacist doctrine teaches, that David was a white boy who was blushing. That's why he's called ruddy. And yet when we look at the actual evidence, we see brown, 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 brown over and over and over again. We have the comparison to rubies, which are brownish before they're polished in their natural state. So they are browner than rubies. More ruddy, brownish.